Hello retro gaming, home arcade, and digital pinball enthusiasts. It's me, it's Michael B. And on today's video, we're going to talk about AtGames' next release in the FX Collector's line now that this is becoming more clear, Star Trek. And did they boldly go where no one thought they would? So that's right, guys. In today's video, we're going to talk all about AtGames' next skin selection or next model of the AtGames Legends 4KP, Legends Pinball 4KP Star Trek. And this is one I don't think anybody saw coming. But anyways, before we get into that, I want to say thank you so much, everybody, for checking out the video. Guys, I always appreciate the support. If this is your first time to the channel, you like what you see, go ahead, subscribe. Click the bell for notifications, all that YouTube jazz. So this past week, AtGames announced their next release in the Legends Pinball 4KP, the FX Collector's Edition line, and it was a very big title, Star Trek. Now this is one that people were absolutely hoping for since the announce of the Zen Pinball FX lineup coming to the AtGames 4KP, but I don't think this is necessarily the version people expected. And that's right, guys, I didn't stutter there. When the initial announcement came out for the Legends Pinball 4KP and Zen Studios Pinball FX lineup, this wasn't on the radar for anybody. We saw in the initial pamphlets that, of course, Star Trek The Next Generation was featured as a possible game that would be playable in the future on the Legends Pinball 4KP, and we all kind of hoped that maybe there would be a Star Trek The Next Generation table. Then, this was announced. And you can clearly see on the table itself, or pinball machine, there is currently artwork for Star Trek the new version, the last Kelvin trilogy, and it kind of caught people off guard, especially if they didn't see a video earlier that day to kind of make sense of it, because you're looking at this, obviously Star Trek is an A+ franchise, good job AtGames getting it, but what does the Next Generation table have to do with the Kelvin timeline, you're wondering? Well, if you watched Akos and Bentz on Pinball Bites from Zen Pinball earlier that day, it would have started to make a little bit more sense, as Zen Studios are now releasing 3 new games in the Zen Pinball FX lineup based on the Star Trek franchise. So the tables are based on Star Trek Discovery. We've also got a Star Trek Deep Space Nine table coming out, and of course a table based on the Kelvin trilogy, which makes sense for this new AtGames machine. So obviously a little bit of confusion, as most people did expect this to be something to do with Star Trek The Next Generation. And if you didn't see the Pinball Bites video, you wouldn't even realize that Zen Studios is making their own 3 Star Trek games based on the Kelvin trilogy, Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Discovery. So it was all a little confusing. But it gets even a little bit more confusing. So this is the official advertisement that AtGames put out for the FX Legends 4K Star Trek, and there it showcases the machine, clearly displaying the Kelvin trilogy. But if you look at the actual game on the table, that's not the upcoming Star Trek game from Zen Studios. No, in fact, this is actually the Star Trek Stern table from a couple of years ago. So then I had people on my YouTube timeline when they saw this post saying, oh my god, Pinball FX or AtGames have access to the Stern library now. And I was like, no, that's not the game. So I reached out to some of the employees at AtGames and I was like, hey guys, what's going on here? And actually that was when I was notified of the new games coming to Pinball FX. So no, for the people that still are looking at this and not believing it, this is a mistake. It's not the Stern Star Trek that's going to be on the Zen Studios table. It is, in fact, 3 brand new original games from Zen Studios. So again, with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's available. So this is pre-order the FX Legends 4K Collector's Edition Star Trek $200 deposit, and we're back with the deals again. Good on AtGames for doing this, because when the Addams Family came out, originally it was $10.99, then it shot up all the way to, I think it was $14.99. Here they're doing $11.99 between 11/23 and 11/30, and then $12.99 between 12/1 to 12/31. So good stuff. If this is the skin you wanted, you didn't want the Addams Family or the other two they previously released, Dinosaur Dynasty or Peanuts. I was going to say Snoopy. You can now get Star Trek, and you can get it at a discounted price. So let's go through the pictures they have here. So here is the initial one they put out showing the machine, and Star Trek fans, especially that Kelvin trilogy, feedback has been pretty positive about this design so far. Now with the confusion out of the way that these are Pinball FX games, not the Stern games, and this is not the art for next generation. With all that confusion out of the way. Then we'll go take a look. There's the other side of the machine. So, there's the artwork. I know P-Dub said he would prefer the topper being on the side, but I don't know. To each their own. A lot of people posting some positive feedback. And there you can see the other side, which has been on all the display art so far. There's the front of the machine. You can see the Star Trek Enterprise, then a bit of space over there. Here's the ad with the other side of the machine we just saw. Here's an up-close look at the topper. I wonder what lights up there. You have to imagine that it's this part and these parts actually light up. There's your Star Trek logo on the builder's plate. And then we also have the Star Trek logo on the speakers. I do like what they're doing with the speakers there. So where is the more features? Because this also comes... Oh, here we go. Product description. So... here's everything you get. Premium processing power, onboard storage, playfield 32-inch 4K resolution at 60 frames per second, integrated backglass 23 HD, and DMD is an 8-inch dual display, audio speakers, embedded services include Legends 4K Pinball Net, App Store X, and here's what you really want to know about the included tables: Star Trek Pinball Kelvin Timeline, Star Trek Pinball Discovery, and Star Trek Pinball Deep Space Nine, as well as the other tables that come standard on the rest of the Legends Pinball 4KP machines. Images are just for reference only, and actual product's appearance and specifications may vary. The machine design is subject to change pending the licensor's approval. So again, nothing's final till it's final, but this has been approved by the licensor this time, but not final approval. So this is a big license for AtGames, Star Trek, and they're working with CBS Studios. I mean, good on AtGames and Zen Studios for making this actually happen. I mean, this is a big license for AtGames. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking, and I'm kind of the same way too. This is really cool, but me personally, I would have preferred Star Trek The Next Generation. That's based on a real table. It would have been cool to see a table recreation, and AtGames did hear some of that feedback as well. I mean, obviously, these are brand new games that Pinball FX are putting out, so they're excited about their new games, and of course, the licensor, Zen Studios, CBS Studios, they're excited about the new games, so that's what they wanted to go with. But AtGames did hear the feedback from the fans that did want Star Trek The Next Generation. And while we're not getting that recreated table that some of us were hoping for, they did hear the feedback, and as an added bonus, they're adding a fourth Star Trek game to the table free of charge if you pick up the Star Trek branded table, and that is Star Trek The Next Generation for Pinball FX. So there's now 4 Star Trek games that are coming with this machine. So anyways, guys, that is the announcement on AtGames releasing a FX Legends Pinball 4KP Collector's Edition based on Star Trek the franchise, with the main focus being on the new game based on the Kelvin timeline, Star Trek Discovery, and what's the other one? Deep Space Nine. And as an added bonus, we get Next Generation as well. So this is something nobody saw coming, caught everybody off guard, especially if you didn't see the Pinball Bites video earlier in the day to learn that Zen Studios was making new games for Pinball FX. based on other Star Trek franchises. We had no idea what it was. Again, the machine itself had the Stern game on it, which led to more confusion. But at the end of the day, Star Trek fans are getting a pretty cool table, especially if you're a big fan of the Kelvin timeline. I personally love the first two movies. Third movie kind of threw me off, but if you're a huge fan, this is something for you. Now, me personally, it's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for Star Trek The Next Generation, a recreation, but, AtGames is obviously working with Zen Studios, working with CBS, and they're picking what they think will have the most impact with their audience and what they're excited for the most. And they're going with their gut, and that tells them that it's Star Trek The Kelvin timeline, so that's what they're doing. Me, I'm fine. I got my Addams family, so cool to AtGames. Hopefully this works out for them, and yeah, again, it's a cool-looking table. I mean, this is such a different company than it was a couple years ago when they were first releasing the original Legends Pinball. Now we're getting grade A titles with grade A partnerships and cool stuff. And I have seen a lot of feedback with people being upset that it's not Next Generation. But I've also seen a lot of feedback of people saying, wow, this is friggin' awesome. Big Star Trek fans, they're going to go out and get the tables. What I want to know from you guys in the comments is, what do you think of this release from AtGames? Their Star Trek Kelvin timeline pinball machine based on the 3 brand new Pinball FX games from Zen Studios based on Star Trek. Star Trek The Kelvin Timeline, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Discovery. I know I'm late getting this out compared to other people. I apologize, guys. I was in Toronto with someone you might know. That's right, I was in Toronto on a business trip, and luckily on the last day, my good buddy Nostalgia came up, and we did some of the manliest stuff ever. We went to Octo, the claw machine arcade, and we got stuffed toys. And did we ever clean up? Woohoo! Had a great time in Toronto with Nostalgia. It was a lot of fun, guys. And that's everything, guys. Thank you so very much for watching. This is Michael B. the Game Genie, and I'll talk to you next time.